This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. There he is. Are you in Kansas City? Are you headed there? What's the deal?
So I actually have a different assignment this week. I'm in Buffalo, everybody's Dolphins fans' favorite team. I got Buffalo Steelers this week. So the way it works for us, we have one reporter per game, and James Palmer lives pretty close to Kansas City and Denver. So he has Kansas City, Miami, and I've got Buffalo, Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got the short end of the stick, bro. You got
yeah, I mean, you can look at it either way, right?
Wait. Are you in Toronto right now?
No. I actually am in Buffalo. I just headed up. I just got to practice. They have practice in about 30 minutes. And so I pulled up to the facility just now, set up there. So I haven't got a Toronto trip in. Maybe I can squeeze one in. But the problem is weather, just like in KC, is going to be brutal over the next couple of days. So I don't know how much driving I want to do.
Yeah, no, I know. But it's so funny because a lot of us that go there, we always say, "Hey, did you go to Toronto?" You don't want to, you don't really want to hang out in Buffalo. But if you just take a 45-minute drive,
yep,
you're in a really cool place, bro.
Absolutely.
Toronto is freaking awesome, man. I love Toronto. I bet every time I've gone to Buffalo, I go to Toronto because, it's like, I don't think you ever met Jim Mandich, right? You never met him, right?
No.
But you've obviously heard the name and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a famous saying. He goes, every time I check in to a hotel in Buffalo, I look at the front desk person and I say, give me a room without a view.
That's funny.
And that's the Mad Dog. That was the Mad Dog. And that's one of those lines that I'll never forget from the Mad Dog because it's true. Once you go to Buffalo, you really want to spend time in Toronto. All right. Let's get into it. I got to tell you something. I said this last week before they even lost this game to Buffalo. I picked Buffalo. It's the only time I picked against the Dolphins this year was Buffalo. But I said last week they got a better shot next week against Kansas City. And I still feel that way. And I feel like the weather will force McDaniel to run the ball more, which I actually think might be a positive for the Miami Dolphins. So tell me how crazy I am.
I don't think you're that crazy. I will say they are, with the injuries, they're probably a worse team than they were last week. But that being said, I think there's a good point with the elements. It's going to be not only cold, but it's going to be windy. And so that starts to affect the passing game. And ideally, that means you lean on your backs. Now, I am curious how the Dolphins' backs travel. Not as much Raheem Mostert, but Achane, who's, maybe 175 pounds. How does he play in the cold weather? A Texas kid. You assume you can ground and pound, but can you ground and pound with a smaller back? I think we're going to see. But I will say that I think that's their recipe. I talked about it on NFL Network earlier this week. They had 101 yards last week in the first half, 7 in the second half. And the offense went scoreless in the second half. And you can say, hey, they didn't have as many snaps, this and that. The reality is the offense is on pace when they run the ball. It's off pace when they don't run the ball. And you can't let defense's adjustments of coverage and scheme affect your willingness and ability to run the ball. And so regardless if Waddle plays this week, I still want to see them have the run be the core of their offense because it can be really effective. And because you have Tyreek and likely Waddle on the field, defenses have to always respect that deep passing game. And so they can't load up the box. And I think that's Miami's recipe to the win. Run the ball. The other thing about that is you shorten the game. You keep your defense off the field as far as snaps, which limits you with your lack of depth. So to me, that's the formula, but we'll see what Mike does.
Yeah. No, well, it's again, I think the weather might actually force him to be a little bit more responsible with and listening. One of the things I talked about with Tua, besides making better decisions with the football and staying, he's had way too many turnovers this year, and that's really not who he is. And I think that's because the habits that have been developed with him and Mike being ultra aggressive. It's funny, right? Because the guy that supposedly couldn't throw deep is the guy that throws deep the most in the
Mm-hmm.
NFL. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's
Yep.
the guy that has the hardest passing set every week because McDaniel's so damn aggressive. And I'm really hoping because we as Dolphin fans and as an old fan, brother, we got tired of watching Brady dink and dunk.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody used to complain about Brady dinking and dunking because, yeah, he'd hit you over the top, but he'd fucking kill you to sleep with 4-yarders and 5-yarders and all. We don't see the Dolphins do enough of that. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
Drew Brees did that tons. Joe Montana did that tons. Peyton Manning did that tons. That's what these guys do. And I heard Tua this week talk about spreading the ball out and taking what the defense gives him. Something tells me we might see what I want. A little bit more of a responsible and less risky passing game.
Yeah, the key for that really is just how they dictate the game in the first half, right? Because like we talked about, they ran maybe the ideal game plan in the first half, right? Like if you look at the numbers, they ran the ball 17 times, they threw the ball 14 times.
I was
More
so
runs
proud
than
of them.
passes. That's
So
quote
proud.
unquote the ideal game plan. It's
Yes,
after halftime that was the issue. Like they scored 14 points at a half. You double that, that's 28 points. If you can guarantee me the Dolphins get 28 points this week, I'm going to feel pretty darn solid about their chances of winning Kansas City. And
agreed.
so it's the one half went according to plan. It was the second half that was the issue, and that's what happens when a team adjusts, right? And I
Yeah,
think that the Chiefs do a really good job of showing disguises of adjusting. So it's going to be another challenge for Mike McDaniel with Steve Spagnuolo on the other side. At some point, he's going to throw a wrench into your plan. What happens when your plan, because I do think they'll come in with the plan that we're talking about, but what happens when your plan is thrown off? How do
right.
you adjust?
Yeah, yeah. I tweeted out. You can go look at the timeline. At halftime, I tweeted out how proud I was of the Dolphins with that. For outside of the stupid option play that he called for a Chan, and he opened up the game with a pass play trying to be Mr. Smart Guy, and they had a penalty. And on the next play, a Chan gets 16 yards, and it's like, yo, dude, just keep it simple, stupid. It's
Mm-hmm.
Kiss. Let's go, Kiss.
Right.
But there wasn't a lot to complain about in the first half. I thought it was a beautiful first half, and then that
Mm-hmm.
second half, I'm like, "Yo, Mike, come on, man, please!" And you lost the game on 2 flukish plays.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's the part that sucks, dude. You know, it just, I don't know. It's just one of those things that just drives me crazy. All right, now you guys really don't watch practice, okay?
Well, we
So
only get usually maybe 10, 15 minutes.
yeah.
So you can't really see any of the team periods for sure.
So
Not since training camp.
what's your gut tell you? Because I am convinced some of these players aren't playing. Okay, I don't think the safety's playing. I really don't. There were some things like he was saying yesterday about Waddle and Mostert for Saturday. He goes optimistic if both don't have setbacks, and I almost think like that's kind of covering his ass. I almost don't feel good about those two guys playing. So your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll start with Javon because I've talked to Javon a lot over the last few weeks, and I don't think people realize just kind of how difficult an injury it is for both knees. When you have one MCL, you can let the other one's healthy, and so you can feed off of that, and you can it kind of heals and degenerates. But when both of them are limited, it's hard. And he came back because he wants to come back and he wanted to play in these games, but he's not 100%. And he's playing through pain. It's limiting his cutting. It's limiting his
You
movement.
see it.
And
You see
and
it.
and, and you've seen it the last couple games. Like last game, the first game, I think Mike said he pulled him out. This game, Javon said he pulled himself out. And so you've got 2 games in a row where your safety tries to play but can't finish the game. And so you start to ask yourself, is it more than it's worth, right? Is it more than it's worth having a limited Javon Holland who's not going to be able to finish the game and play versus no one going in, we're not going to have him? I think they're going to have a very interesting question. It's tough because it's the playoffs.
I get it.
Everybody wants to play. They don't want to say, hey, I sat out our only playoff game because, I was injured, right? And so I do think you'll see him try, but I wouldn't be surprised if they say for the betterment of him, if we think it's going to be the same thing, let's just try to sit you out. Deshaun, his calf, he tried to play through it as well. That those sort of things linger, and so that's
Yeah.
another issue of like he's not going to be 100%. It's a very high risk of re-injury. Do you go in light?
Dangerous,
Yes,
dangerous. That could really turn into a serious injury. You need to be
absolutely.
really careful with calves, dude.
And the other thing that people don't talk about a lot, and I know it's probably minor, but let's say you go in and you make Javon and Elliott active, right? You're probably keeping two other safeties active. If both of those guys go down in game, you only have two safeties left. And so you're limited on not only your depth at safety, but your ability to play special teams. And then you give up touchdowns like you did this past week. And so it just trickles down all through the team. And so that would be my worry with the two safeties. On the offensive guys, the Rheaume stuff is a little troubling to me because they had so much optimism a couple of weeks ago that he was good to go. And when you even watch Rheaume talk about it on Hard Knocks, he was just kind of like, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. It's just not, it's stiff. It's not feeling right. And so the hope is another week gives him that. Maybe it does, but I'd imagine if he plays, he's probably another guy who's limited where you're trying not to overdo it with him, which means you're probably still leaning on Achane and Jeff Wilson a lot, and it's probably a true
What happened to
three.
Brooks? What happened to Brooks?
I
Because
just don't think at this stage of his career they want him to be taking heavy carries.
that's what it is.
I think it is. I just think there's. I think
Wow,
just like
he played really well, dude.
I understand. I
He made
understand.
a seamless transition from college to the NFL.
I understand, and I'm with you. I certainly
Impressed.
would like to see him more, but I think it's not too dissimilar to Fangio having a certain trust in players, running his scheme and doing things, and being effective in it. I think there's probably some of that element with
Because I'm
McDaniel.
confused. I'm confused with that. Is he not completely healthy? But if he wasn't completely healthy,
No, I think it's completely healthy. I
why
think
the
it's
hell would
completely
you
healthy.
take right? Why the hell would you take a roster spot for so many weeks when
I
you've
think I
needed it?
think they like him. They like him on special teams, and I think they like if they had to choose, they like the other three backs better than him and trust him more than him. And so right now he's simply just the fourth back they want to see getting carries.
I think he's way more dynamic than Jeff Wilson.
I think they would disagree.
Oh, I
I'm
saw
not saying
his
you're wrong.
I
I'm not saying
saw
you're
his
wrong.
vision.
Yeah.
I saw him as a runner. Jeff Wilson has nothing on that kid as a runner. I get
I'm
the
not saying you're wrong,
experience and
and I
everything
don't think we
else.
have enough evidence to know like in game what it looks like. But I'm just telling you. You asked me why. I'm giving you the why of why I think he's not playing a lot of snaps.
Yeah, wow. I'm a little shocked there because I think you can use him and he can help you, man,
Right.
big time. I mean, the Keaton Mitchell kid was a rookie too, and he was killing it with Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? And Pacheco won a Super Bowl as the damn rookie. So I don't know. I I've watched rookies over the years that have trouble in transition, and I see it. I didn't watch this kid struggle with he didn't struggle with blocking.
Right.
That to me, that's the ultimate test of a running back in the NFL.
Right.
I don't care. All of them know how to find a hole pretty much and run. You know what I'm saying? But if you know how to pick up the blocker, and they were putting him on the field to be a blocker, that's like, brother, that's trust at the highest level.
Right.
I'm confused. I'm
Yeah.
confused. I
I
am.
think you're gonna see Brooks probably make a bigger impact in year two, but right now
Sure.
I just don't think there's probably gonna be a lot for him.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What do they do outside of Tyreek? Because even if I don't think Waddle's going to play, but if he plays, he's going to be nothing more than a decoy. Okay, so give me the other receiver that must be a factor in this game tomorrow.
Cedric Wilson. And I think it's interesting because at the start of the season, you would have asked most Dolphins fans, they would have discarded Cedric Wilson for a loaf of bread. It was rough standing, but time and time again, you've looked for a third receiver or sometimes a second receiver, and it's been Cedric who most of the time has made bigger plays. He caught that touchdown this past week. He's earned a lot more snaps than Chase Claypool. We saw that route that Chase ran towards the end of the game. There's a certain level of trust, and while Cedric probably lacks some explosiveness, he lacks what you bring with Tyreek and Waddle. I think what he does provide is some a big size, and you know that he's going to be in the right spot for the most part. And I think that's very important for Tua in a timing-based offense. And so I think you'll see Cedric Wilson. You need him. You don't need him to have a 100-yard day, but you need him to get 4, 5, 6 catches in key situations to be able to be somebody where, hey, if they double team Tyreek or if they shade a lot of coverage to Tyreek and or Waddle, then we have somebody that can beat their third corner one-on-one. And that's simply it. We've not seen enough of it from Berrios for me to be confident that it's going to be him. And the running backs, although they've been effective, I don't think they've been as consistent of a weapon in the passing game as I would have anticipated.
Well,
and
that's McDaniel's fault, not anybody else's. Could have used
yeah, I think that you're going to be looking at Cedric Wilson. He would be the guy that I would say I would love to see a 5 catch for 55-yard game from Cedric Wilson, maybe a touchdown. I think that to me would be very important for the offense.
All right, Anchor Bar, give me a prediction, Anchor Bar.
For the Dolphins Kansas City game, I think the Dolphins are going to come out just like last week. I think I predicted last week to a T. I said the Dolphins are going to come out early and jump on them, and then the Bills are going to come back and get a game-winning drive and win the game. I think that this week, the Dolphins are going to once again come out hot. I think that this is going to be a sluggish, ugly game. And I think ultimately, at the end, Patrick Mahomes is going to make a play and going to beat him. But I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think the Dolphins are going to fight and be in control of this game for much of the game. And I think ultimately, 15 on that other side is going to show why he's the best quarterback in football.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and catch his exceptional work there at the NFL Network. As always, my brother, appreciate you. Safe in your travels and stay warm.
I'll try my best. Appreciate you.
You got you. There you go. Cameron Wolfe, and you got to call our friends at KSDT CPAs, man. Listen, if you need help with your taxes, personal, business, you call our friends at KSDT CPAs. Use our QR code right there, and you can reach out to them anywhere in the country. You can reach out to the people at KSDT CPAs. It's a phone call. You can do all that stuff over the phone, emails, everything. Reach out to them, 305-670-3370. They're also hiring. They've got offices in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, and they've got a new office in Charlotte, North Carolina. So if you're in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, they're also hiring there at KSDT CPAs. 305-670-3370, business taxes, personal taxes, and especially for the businesses out there, you need that tax guidance all throughout the year. Nobody better. Top 200 firm by Forbes, KSDT CPAs, and follow them on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on everywhere. KSDT CPAs. Hour number 2 is next. Manny Navarro starts it off.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.